It goes without saying, Monsters Inc. is an absolute masterpiece. When I look back, I still find it amazing that this movie was made back in 2001. It does a great job establishing the world of the Monsters universe. The emotions and personalities of the characters themselves actually feel genuine. The connection of Boo and Sullivan, for instance, will never cease to put chills down my spine, and that's all because the people who made this movie are absolute geniuses who understand how to make a character's ego and motives feel believable. That's why we fondly remember each and every one of them. And that's exactly why Monsters University sucks. Yep, that's pretty much it. Alright, I wouldn't call this movie terrible. In fact, I actually like the story that's told here when I completely ignore everything that happened in the first film. Alright, let's just get this out of the way. I think the moment they decided this was going to be a prequel is what doomed this movie from the start. For me, it kind of kills the suspense when they try and raise the stakes or when they reintroduce some of the main characters. Oh look, there's little Mike Wazowski, he has dreams of working for Monsters Inc. Spoiler alert, he works for Monsters Inc. in the future. Who would have guessed that? There's Randall. Interesting. He was a good guy apparently. You know, I don't know what it is, but something's telling me he's gonna get real butthurt later on and it's gonna change his entire character and motivation. Oh, yep, there it is. He loses to Sullivan, and that's the story of how Randall turns evil, kids. Sullivan and Mike might hate each other now, but I'm 200% positive they're gonna be friends by the end of it. There's no reason for me to care about any of these plot points because I know exactly what's going to happen.
But Mr. Mayto, you're missing the point. It isn't about what happens, it's about how it happens.
Yeah, let's find out how they become friends in the most uninspired, uninteresting, and bare bones sequel to any Pixar masterpiece I've ever seen. And no, I haven't seen Cars 2 yet, nor do I really care enough to watch it, so until further notice, this is the worst sequel I've seen from this company. And I don't want to be all like, oh well, it doesn't have Boo, so it sucks. But I mean, that's pretty much it. Boo is what made Monsters Inc. so memorable. It wasn't Sullivan or Wazowski. Sure, they have funny moments, haha, whatever. But if anything, Boo is what made these characters shine. And she also helps grow their friendship. Let's do a quick recap. Monsters Inc. relied on scaring little children for energy. And it isn't until Boo shows up that Wazowski and Sullivan realize their society and beliefs about human children is inaccurate. It has this powerful scene near the end where Sullivan questions what truly matters, his best friend and everything they worked for, or preventing the mistreatment of a human being, especially one that he has a real connection with. He decides to go with the latter, only for his friend to show up anyway a few scenes later, apologizing, knowing that he was in the wrong. It is because of Boo that they were able to discover this truth, that what they thought was harmless fun was actually torture. It ends on this cliffhanger that from that point on, Monsters Inc. was going to rely on the laughter of humans for energy instead of scaring children. Not only that, but Sullivan gets the privilege of visiting Boo whenever he pleases. Man, what a story. I can't wait for the successor in the future that can only build upon this story and universe. And then Monsters University comes along and it's like, back to using scaring for energy, kids. Let's find out how Wazowski and Sullivan became scarers. Wait, what? Wasn't it already established that the concept of scaring is a no-no and it gets eliminated by the end of the first film anyway? So then why do we need to know any of this? I can't stress enough how important Boo was to the plot of Monsters Inc. Without that fish out of water element, what are you left with? A scaring competition, which is exactly what Monsters University is. So they took away what made Monsters Inc. so unique in the first place. But that's okay because they're going to compensate by replacing her with characters that have no purpose and are just there for the sake of filling in a role. It's mind-boggling how unlikable Hardscrabble is, for example. What's their motivation? At least Waternoose had a motive that was justifiable. He became more villainous as the story progressed. He forgets his morals because he wanted to protect his company at all costs. But what's Hardscrabble's excuse? She has it out for Wazowski the whole movie, but they never explain why. It's not even like a, oh well, she's harsh because that would make the students stronger and it shows how much she cares kind of thing. She wants nothing to do with him or Sullivan for that matter.
If you win, I will let your entire team into the scare program. But if you lose, you will leave Monsters University.
I mean, that's a pretty harsh punishment for a competition that's supposed to be meant just for fun, but if it raises the stakes for the sake of the story becoming more interesting, then screw it.
Uzma Kappa is back in the games! It's a miracle!
Your luck will run out. Eventually.
What kind of dean of any school is eager to see her students fail? How did she even get the job? She doesn't say anything important. She's just pure negative energy the whole way through. She gives nobody a chance to improve or showcase what they can do. It's almost as if she hates her students. Johnny Worthington is the same issue.
Sorry, killer, but you might want to hang out with someone a little more your speed. They look fun.
Oh, hey there. Want to join Uzma Kappa?
Go crazy.
Is that a joke?
I can see a lot of people in the comments giving this guy a pass by saying, oh well, he's supposed to represent the bully of the school with the big ego. Of course he's gonna be obnoxious. It's not their personalities that frustrates me. These two characters are given the spotlight in way too many scenes, yet their character traits are to only represent scary monsters, and the ones that aren't scary, they're gonna make sure their lives are as miserable as possible. That's their character and motivation in a nutshell, and it's boring. Why give so much of the spotlight to characters that suck? And it's not just them. It seems like every student in this school, other than Uzma Kappa, which don't even get the spotlight until 30 minutes in, is just driven by ego and has that same immature and obnoxious, I'm better than you mentality. You can call it a modern representation of our society all you want to, and to be honest, you wouldn't be wrong, but that doesn't quite make it any more fun to watch, especially when it takes up basically half the movie. None of these characters have any charm or redeeming qualities whatsoever. But hey, there's a snail joke in this, guys. He's trying so hard to make it to class in time, but he can't because he's a monster snail, get it? Haha, that's true comedy. Like I said earlier, I can't hate this movie even if I tried, because I do see something here. Uzma Kappa is the best part about this film to me. They're all average monsters who lack scariness and self-confidence, but they have dreams of being better. They become inspired to win the scare games and prove themselves once and for all. However, the cruelty of society is there to stop them every step of the way. They soon are demotivated and realize that they can try all they want, but they'll never be true scarers. But Wazowski gets an idea. They go on a field trip to Monsters Inc. and they discover that there isn't only one type of scare. Every monster is different and they use those differences to their advantage. Uzma Kappa are once again inspired to win the competition, and they do just that, except Sullivan rigs the system to give Wazowski an automatic victory. Moments later, Wazowski finds out the truth, and he becomes so upset to the point where he goes to the human world just to prove that he is scarier than people say he is. Sullivan follows after him, only to find Wazowski devastated at the scene.
You were right. They weren't scared of me. I did everything right. I wanted it more than anyone. And I thought if I wanted it enough, I could show everybody that Mike Wazowski is something special. And I'm just not.
I like this part of the movie. I can relate to what Wazowski is saying. We all have dreams and aspirations, but the words of certain individuals may discourage us along the way. That's why we work so hard to prove those people wrong, but sometimes it feels as though it's never enough. Why do other people have it better? Why does society constantly judge us on things that we can't control? When nobody cares about our worth ethic, our love and passion for what we do, and all they're interested in is boosting their own ego, why even bother trying to obtain something when seemingly nobody has faith in us anyway?
I know how you feel.
Don't do that. Please don't do that. You do not know how I feel.
Mike, calm down.
Monsters like you have everything. You don't have to be good. You can mess up over and over again, and the whole world loves you. You'll never know what it's like to fail because you were born a Sullivan.
Yeah, I'm a Sullivan. I'm the Sullivan who flunked every test. The one who got kicked out of the program. The one who was so afraid to let everyone down that I cheated. And I lied.
Everyone has strengths and weaknesses, regardless of who they are. There's more to every individual than their performance in one occupation, major, or activity. It's frustrating because I see the heart in this movie, but I personally believe it wasn't fully realized. At its core, Monsters University has a great message about how our differences don't make us inferior in any way, and what helps us become whoever we want to be is embracing what makes us special compared to other people. It's a great message, but I don't think the story needed to be told through the Monsters universe. I think they had an idea to create an original movie with this message, but the demands for a Monsters Inc. sequel were too high, so they said, well, let's just give them this. Even though I honestly believe this isn't what people were asking for. But hey, at least we have monsters at work. That's exciting, right?
Is that a joke?